why most people are losing without knowing. You don't see the game because they never wanted you to. They trained you to be liked, not to win, to stay agreeable, predictable, palatable. Meanwhile, the real game, the one that determines who gets heard, who gets chosen, who gets control, is being played right in front of you. Silently, ruthlessly, strategically. It's not on a scoreboard, it's in the room, the classroom, the boardroom, the bedroom. And most people, they walk in already defeated, not because they're weak, but because they've been unarmed. They think life is about being nice, but life is about reading the room. They internalize rejection, overthink every text, say sorry just to keep peace, apologize for existing. They feel underestimated, but can't explain why. They feel unheard, but can't find their voice. They feel drained, but keep showing up. This isn't a coincidence. It's conditioning. You were trained to respond, not to read, to absorb emotion, not to decode intention. So here's the truth. Every interaction is a game, a negotiation of status, a power dynamic in disguise. And if you're not aware of it, you're already losing it. This video isn't just motivation, it's a wake-up call. Because once you see the psychological battlefield, you can stop being a pawn and start playing like a strategist. You can stop reacting and start reading. Stop pleasing and start positioning. Stop chasing approval and start owning the room. But first, you need to know what you're really up against. Because the enemy doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes, it wears a smile. And in the next section, you'll learn exactly how they use it to disarm you. You're not weak. You're untrained. You're not broken. You're just playing chess without knowing the rules. That hesitation you feel in conversations, it's not incompetence. It's your intuition, trying to navigate a battlefield you were never shown. That voice in your head that questions everything you say. It's not weakness, it's awareness, misfired and misdirected. They told you that your overthinking was a flaw, but they never told you it's actually precision, waiting to be sharpened. What you call social anxiety is not fear, it's signal sensitivity. You notice what others miss. You sense the shift in tone, the micro-expression, the unsaid tension. You were never lacking power. You just never had a strategy. Your brain, it's programmable, adaptable. It doesn't care about truth. It cares about repetition, meaning, identity. So when they fed you stories like, "You're too much, you're too quiet," there's a psychological code beneath every interaction. And once you understand how that code works, you don't just change how people respond to you. You change how you respond to you. Confidence isn't a trait, it's a script. Power isn't a personality, it's a pattern. And if you can learn to read the room, you can learn to reprogram the room. This isn't self-help, it's system override. Because the world doesn't respond to who you are, it responds to what you signal. And in the next section, you'll see exactly how your mind was wired and how to break the loop. The cognitive redirect, mental jiu-jitsu. Here's the first weapon they never taught you to use. Cognitive redirect, think of it as mental jiu-jitsu. You don't resist force, you redirect it. Because the moment you react emotionally, you've already given up control. Someone criticizes you, you flinch, defend, apologize, they win. But what if you didn't flinch? What if, instead, you reframed? Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you ask, "What power is this forcing me to develop?" Instead of collapsing inward, you slow your breath. You break eye contact for just a second. You interrupt the rhythm. Why? Because silence rewires power. When you don't feed their frame, you fracture it. And suddenly, they're the ones reacting. This is the core of the redirect. You pause. You shift perspective. You regain the upper hand. It's subtle, psychological, like stepping out of the emotional current and watching others drown in it. The goal isn't to be unfeeling, it's to be unmoved. Because once you learn to flip momentum, you're no longer at the mercy of mood, tone, or tension. You choose your state. You control your meaning. Try this. The next time someone pushes your button, don't respond. Recode. Say nothing. Breathe slower. Shift your weight. Let them feel the silence they created. And in that pause, you'll feel something shift. Not just in them, in you. Because that's the real trick. You don't need to fight for power. You need to stop giving it away. And in the next section, we go deeper into the silent signals that dominate every room before a word is even spoken. Silence isn't weakness, it's psychological control. Silence isn't absence, it's pressure. And when used strategically, it's one of the most dominant forces in any room. They told you to speak up to be heard. But the truth is, those who command the most respect often say the least, because silence, when intentional, doesn't feel like nothing. It feels like tension. Studies in negotiation psychology show this clearly. The person who holds silence after a question, not the one who rushes to fill the gap, controls the frame. The longer the pause, the more power it holds. This isn't mysticism, it's biology. When someone goes quiet, your brain starts guessing. Is something wrong? Did I offend them? Are they judging me? You lean in, you adjust, you react, and in that moment, they're leading. Introverts aren't ignored because they're quiet. They're ignored because no one ever taught them to own their quiet, to turn silence into strategy. It's not just about what you say, it's about what you withhold. It's about creating a void that others rush to fill. Power doesn't chase, it waits. And the most unsettling form of confidence is the kind that doesn't need to prove itself. So next time you feel invisible, don't speak louder. Sit still. Let your stillness become signal. Let them wonder what you're thinking. Let them feel your presence, not your performance. Because when your silence feels intentional, you stop being overlooked and start being watched. Next, we'll break down the micro-signals your body sends and how to hack them for dominance without a single word. When they can't read you, they can't control you. Power leaks in silence, not the kind you control, the kind you don't notice. The twitch in your eyebrow when you're nervous, the shift in your tone when you feel judged, the way you over-explain yourself just to feel safe. That's how they read you. And once they can read you, they can steer you. But here's the shift. If you want to become untouchable, you must first become unreadable. Let me introduce a tactic: mirror freeze. Here's how it works. When someone gets emotional, you don't react. You mirror. Match their tone, their energy, but don't leak yours. Hold your face neutral. Freeze your micro-expressions. Let your energy become glass. You're not shutting down, you're reflecting. Because when you reflect instead of react, they see themselves, not you. And in that reflection, they lose their grip. This is how you become mentally invisible. You stop broadcasting your fear, your approval-seeking, your overexposure. They can't pin you, can't provoke you, can't play you. You're no longer an open book. You're a locked vault. To the sensitive ones, the quiet observers, this is your weapon. You see too much because you feel too much. But now, you stop bleeding it out. Let them guess, let them project, let them miscalculate. Because the most dangerous person in any room is the one no one can quite figure out. Next, we sharpen the weapon even further by teaching you how to control perception itself, why your brain keeps falling into their trap. You think they control you. They don't. They just know your script better than you do. Manipulators don't overpower you. They out-pattern you. They study your reflexes, how you flinch when you're ignored, how you chase when affection is withheld, how you shrink when someone raises their tone, and then they pull the same levers over and over and over again. It feels personal, but it's not. It's psychological automation. Your mind is wired for loops, triggers that lead to stories, stories that lead to actions, actions that reinforce the identity you're trying to outgrow. They say something sharp, you try to fix it. They withdraw, you overgive, loop, and every time your confidence gets rewritten, not by truth, but by habit. These people, narcissists, charmers, manipulators, they don't need force, they need predictability. And when they know your loop, they own the game. So here's your weapon. Catch the loop early. The first spike of anxiety, pause. The first urge to explain yourself, freeze. The first need to prove you're good, don't. Because the moment you disrupt the pattern, you disrupt their power. This isn't about being cold. It's about becoming conscious. Awareness is the kill switch. And once you see the code, you can start editing it. You're not your triggers. You're the one watching them. But until you edit your mental code, the game will keep repeating. And in the next section, we'll expose the hidden roles you've been cast into and teach you how to break out of them forever. Feelings are data, not directives. Emotions are not commands. They're codes, signals, data packets from your nervous system, not orders from your soul. But most people treat them like law. You feel anxious, you retreat. You feel disrespected, you explode. You feel rejected, you chase validation. That's not strategy, that's autopilot. If you want to win the psychological game, you must stop obeying emotion and start reading it. Here's the shift. Your emotions are valuable, but not because they're right, because they're informative. They tell you where your wounds are, where your triggers live, where your opponent is pressing. But you're not the emotion. You're the one reading the board. You're not the chess piece anymore. You're the player, the observer, the strategist. The piece feels, the strategist decides. So when emotion rises, don't act, analyze. What is this feeling trying to signal? What would be the unpredictable move right now?
How do I turn this discomfort into leverage? That's how you stop being reactive and start becoming calculated. You redirect your energy. You delay gratification. You conserve mystery. You let them move first while you gather data. This is where power is born. Not in the noise of reaction, but in the calm of observation. Because strategy is silence in motion, and once you start treating emotion as information, not identity, you become untouchable. In the next section, we'll weaponize this mindset further and teach you how to flip control in any conversation without ever raising your voice. Own the room without saying a word. You don't need to be loud to dominate a room. You need to control your energy. True power doesn't announce itself. It settles in, like gravity, like a storm you feel before it arrives. This is the identity shift. You're not just an introvert. You're a confident introvert, a presence that doesn't beg, perform, or shrink. You move slow, you speak less, you pause longer, not because you're unsure, but because you've stopped chasing permission. You've become a signal, not a noise. The room adjusts to you. People don't follow volume, they follow certainty. And nothing is more magnetic than someone who doesn't overcompensate because they have nothing to prove. Here's how you weaponize this. Slow your movements. Fast, nervous, still, grounded. Use minimalist language. Cut the filler. Let silence finish your sentences. Hold eye contact, then break it slowly. It shows dominance without aggression. Pause before you speak. It makes people lean in. This is energy control. This is how you stop walking into rooms feeling small and start altering the atmosphere just by showing up. It's not about being seen more. It's about being felt more. You don't need to fill the silence. You become the silence. Unshakable, unapologetic, understood by those who matter, misunderstood by those who never saw you anyway. Because when you stop needing attention, you start commanding it. And in the next section, we go surgical, showing you how to flip power in real time, using one tactic: frame control. You don't need to win every game, just make them play yours. You've been trying to win their game, match their tone, outtalk their dominance, prove your worth in a system that was never built for you. But here's the shift: you don't need to win every game, you just need to change the board. Confidence isn't about overpowering, it's about redirecting the current. You don't have to outshine the loudest voice in the room, you just have to change what people are listening to. That's what frame control really is. It's narrative leadership. It's the power to decide what the conversation means, not through force, but through focus. The quiet one who speaks with timing, the still one who moves with intention, the calm one who holds silence until it echoes. That's the person who bends the game. Because now you understand every technique we've covered: the cognitive redirect, the strategic silence, mirror freeze, the loop awareness, mirror freeze, glory awareness, mirror freeze, the emotion as data mindset, mirror freeze, varvrits and coldest. You and with its male you answers the corner breaking the calls to souths, mirrors the walls, our priest to preach and do it, kind of adult, very one holy time tell. And once you own the frame, you don't need to dominate anyone. They voluntarily adapt to you. This is psychological terrain, not noise, not ego, strategy. You are no longer reacting to the world. You are shaping it. You're not just playing the game anymore. You're rewriting the rules. And in the final section, we seal it with the mindset that makes this permanent: the inner strategist. This is how you become untouchable. Confidence doesn't start with a louder voice. It starts with a quieter mind. A mind that no longer reacts, it calculates. A presence that no longer begs, it dictates. You've spent your life watching the room. Now the room watches you, because you're not the observer anymore. You're the architect. You don't just notice power shifts, you design them. Every pause, every breath, every silence, every redirect, every step back you take is a step above. And here's the truth they never told you. You were never too sensitive. You were too perceptive for a world built on noise. And now that sensitivity has become your superiority. You no longer chase understanding. You create confusion. You no longer need approval. You control attention. This isn't just mindset, it's weaponry. You are now fluent in the language most people don't even know they're speaking. Power cues, social coding, emotional leverage. You see it before they speak. You shift it without effort. And that makes you untouchable. Because true dominance isn't about overpowering others. It's about becoming the one they can't define. You're not just one step ahead. You're outside the script, invisible in intention, undeniable in effect. So here's your challenge. Don't just play the game better. Build a mind so dangerous, they can't even see your next move. Become unreadable, unshakable, unforgettable. No noise, no performance, just precision. This isn't motivation, it's mental warfare. And from this moment on, you don't just enter rooms, you bend them. Now go, become the one they can't predict and can't ignore.